Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel Copycat Ram. This is Ram and today I have brought another video for you. In this video I am going to show you 3 ways to include styling to a ReactJS project. And the third one is going to be very interesting where I will show you a way to add styling for a components only, whose class name will not conflict with other CSS file class name. So without any wasting time, let us start. The first way to include styling to a component is by using style attribute. If you remember, in the HTML we have to just write the style and then we have to pass CSS properties to that style. The same thing we need to do over here. So here what I am going to do, here I am just going to add style attribute to the div element. Now to this element here we have to pass an object. Yes, in the plain HTML we were have to just write the common CSS properties and value within the style using the quotations. But here we need to pass it as object. So let us assume that I want to set background color. So to set the background color, you need to type background color like this and then you have to pass the value. If you notice one thing here, then you'll find one thing is very different, that in the name of the key background color, there is no gap or no separation like hyphens. Instead of this, we have just capitalized the initial letter of the color. So you need to remember this thing, that whenever you are going to use the style attribute inside a React.js project, in that case you cannot use any kind of separation in the CSS properties. Instead of that, you have to maintain it in the camel case form. So here I have applied the background color red. Now if you want to change the color of the font, then you have to just type the color and then you need to pass the value. So here I am setting it as white. Now if you want to set the font size, it is same. You have to follow the same principle that I have told you earlier, that you have to maintain the hyphen separated CSS property in the form of the camel case. So here I am writing font size and I am going to provide it as 50 pixel. So let me save. Now after the compile, you can see that we have the background color as the red, font in white and font size in 50 pixel. So this is the basic way to add styling to a React.js project. If your component is very small, then this is going to be very helpful. But as your project's component going to increase, it is going to create a problem to maintain the CSS. So to outcome this, we have another way to manage the CSS properties. So the another way to maintain the CSS in the React.js is to create a separate CSS file like we actually do for the plain HTML project. So what here I am going to do, here I am going to create a separate file. So I am going to name it as home.css. So here you have to just declare a class name and then you need to save the simple CSS properties as you were doing without making any changes in the property name. So here I am going to set a background color. So here you can write this plain CSS properties, that background hyphen color, and then you simply can provide the values. So let me here set some CSS properties to it. Now what I am going to do, from here I am going to remove all the inline style. Now let me save. Now you will find that now again we have the simple content on our browser. Now to use the home.css, you have to first import the file. So to import the file, you need to write import and then you need to provide the path of the CSS file. So here I have attached the home.css. Now after that, obviously here you need to provide the class name to this. So here I am going to give this as div, because inside home.css here already I have created a class name that is div. Now if I save it, then you can see that we have the style that we have written inside the home.css. We have the same thing over here. Inside a React.js, we may have the multiple component as well as multiple CSS file. So let me give you another example. So now here I am going to create another component. So let me copy and paste it over here, and here I am going to name it as another page. Okay, and here I am changing the content so that we can understand the components. And from here I am going to remove the home.css, and after this I am going to call this inside the app.js. So let me call this. Now we have another component over here, that is another page. Now for this another page we can create a separate file for this so that we can maintain its CSS separately. So here what I'm going to do, here I'm going to create a CSS file that is named as another.css. Now inside this, here again I'm going to create another class name. So here I have created a class name, and here I am going to set some CSS properties. So here color is going to be black, color will be white, and the font size obviously will be 50 pixel. So now save. Now what I am going to do, inside the another page.js, here I have to first import the CSS file that I am want to use, and then I have to name the div, provide the class name to the div. So now if I save, now you can see that we have the page, another page with the background color of white and the font color of white. Here we have the different file for the different components so that we can maintain them easily. But here is a one problem, that let us do one thing. Let us assume that we have a huge class name inside the project and we have written all of them, and as we have huge components, and by mistake if I have the created same class name that I have already created in home.css like div in the another file, then that can conflict with this. So what I here I'm going to do, here I'm going to set font size of the 12 pixel, and if you notice over here we already have font size of 50 pixel. Now if I save this, then you will notice that the font of the home component has been decreased, because the same class name has been declared by mistake within the another.css file. So this is going to create a huge problem. So to solve this problem, we have another way in the React component to add styling, and that is React Modules CSS. So what is the advantage of module CSS? So actually module CSS help us to create or maintain CSS for the component that you have targeted. And if you by mistake add the same class name that has been declared in another file, will not conflict with this. So let me show you one example. So what I am going to do, first I am going to convert this another.css to module CSS. So we have the component of another page. So here first I have to write another page, then dot, then module dot css. Now we have a module CSS inside our project. Now after creating the module CSS, you have to again import that file in the components where you want to use. So now to import the file, here is the only one difference. You have to import it by the name. you have to provide it a name. So what I am going to do here, I am going to give it a name. So another page style. So here I am going to import the CSS file by the name of another page style from another module.css. Now the next thing is that we are going to provide the class name that we have already written within the module.css. So to apply that styling to the element, you need to pass it as object. Now another page style is an object. So here another page style, then you have to pass the class name in the form of the object. So here what I have written, here I have written another page style dot another div. Another div is the CSS that I have written. Now if I save here, now we have the both component CSS within the same parent component without any conflict. Now if you notice, then you will find that we already have div class name inside the module.css as well as we have inside the div.css. Now if I change within the home.css, then it will reflect on the browser. Now if I go to here and try to change this, then it's not going to work anything with the outer component. Now if I save, now still you can see that it is not conflicted with the home.css. So why? Now if you inspect this, then you'll find one interesting thing. Inside the module component where I have used the module CSS, you will find that here we have a unique class name method, that it have created a unique class like another underscore another div underscore or random alphabets. These random alphabets had been created by the ReactJS so that it can separate between different modules CSS, because inside a React project we may have the multiple modules CSS. So this is how it helps us to separate them, and we can maintain their CSS without conflicting with others. So hopefully I was able to explain you the different ways to stylize your component, and I think you will find this video very helpful. If you really like the video, please like the video and share with your friends, and do not forget to subscribe the channel.